Hi everyone. I have a very interesting update video for you today on the replacement of the Westbound Washington Bridge in Providence, Rhode Island. Thanks again to Josh from Providence who captured excellent drone footage. He recorded it yesterday on August 12th, 2026. I'm recording this video the next day, and it contradicts the narrative that's put out by the governor of Rhode Island and the interim Rhode Island DOT director about the state of the progress of construction. Based on the information that you can clearly see in this video that I'm getting ready to show you, it looks like Walsh is about 2 months behind schedule. And I'll explain that because you have various definitions as to what constitutes being on schedule or behind schedule. But in terms of what Walsh said they were going to do within a specific period of time, they are behind schedule. So on Tuesday, August 11th, this interim director, Bob Bracchio of the DOT there, came out and was touting how the project is ahead of schedule. And I thought, well, that's odd. I mean, what new has happened? I mean, the construction of this project in water works started this past June, June 10th, 2026. So I was curious what had happened. And I didn't realize it till today when I phoned one of my contacts telling them what the drone footage revealed for the video that I was going to do today. And they indicated that there was a gubernatorial debate in Rhode Island yesterday. So Bob Rocchio apparently is yet again carrying the water for the governor. This is one of my big objections about how the DOT has been run in Rhode Island for a number of years now, is that it's a highly politicized organization, in my opinion. But let's play through some of these segments.
You'll see above water work going on probably within the next couple of months.
Rocchio says the project is ahead of schedule, but some drivers question that.
I don't see work actually being done. I don't know. Again, I just see the cranes out there and I don't really see any activity.
East Providence resident Kelsey McGinnis crosses the bridge every day going to work.
The most annoying part of my commute is getting onto the bridge.
She says the traffic adds an extra 10 to 15 minutes to her commute.
Well, I think she's right on the money. You have to give people credit that when they drive across a bridge every day, they have a sense as to whether things are going the way they should be or not. Now, it's easy to see the relatively slow progression of substructure work, foundation installation work, and think that hardly anything's going on. But I think what she may be cluing into is the fact that when you see major pieces of equipment in the same positions week after week after week, it could suggest, and in this case, rightly so, that the work is not progressing as well as it could be or had been projected based on Walsh's schedule that they submitted with their technical proposal in order to secure this job in the first place.
Even though the contractor doesn't like to come out and say we're probably going to be driving on that bridge earlier than anticipated.
Now let's keep in mind here, Walsh isn't the one going out there saying, hey, we're ahead of schedule, we're ahead of schedule. This is the interim director of Rhode Island DOT and the current governor of Rhode Island. Let's play this brief segment from that debate last night.
When it was determined it couldn't be repaired, we immediately started the process, which, by the way, we're a couple of years ahead of Maryland. My opponent, made a joke at her announcement that we were 2 years behind Maryland. We're 2 years ahead of them and months ahead of our schedule on the contracts that are in place.
Okay, he said they're months ahead of schedule for the contract in place, meaning the current design build contract that Walsh is responsible for. I don't know why Governor McKee keeps comparing the Washington Bridge to the Key Bridge in Maryland. They're vastly different projects, different sizes, and on. But anybody making a similar comparison, it just seems to really get under his skin. But let's move on here. Let's get into the specifics. This is drone footage that was captured yet again by Josh past June. This was June 18th, 2026. And you can see that they're starting the in-water work, the work for the foundation installation at Piers 1 and Piers 2. They've started installing the permanent casing. And in the case of Pier 1 and Pier 2, they've got the templates, the steel frame that will be used to guide the permanent casings as they drive them to bedrock in preparation of subsequently drilling them out and placing a reinforcing steel cage in there and concrete from the bottom up to construct the drill shaft. Now, this is footage captured yesterday. And you can see they're still working at Piers 1 and 2. They have one drilled shaft rig that I can see here. And they haven't completed all the casing installation. You can see there's still one to go at Pier 2 here. And we're going to zoom in on this and get a closer look of what's going on. But yes, certainly progress is being made, but not at the rate that Walsh had indicated in their schedule that they submitted with their technical proposal. And I'll go through that here in a moment. You can see here we're going to the east, and the only work that's being done is on Piers 1 and 2. And the construction at those piers involve a total of 6 drill shaft foundations, 3 at each pier location. All right, let's look at this overhead shot. We're on the north side of the bridge going west. Getting ready to approach Pier 2 location. I just love this overhead drone shot. And this was done at the end of the workday, so there's nobody working on site right now. All right, here we are, close up of Pier 2. You can see that there's the casing that's been installed at 2 of the drilled shaft locations at Pier 2. It appears that reinforced concrete placement has not yet occurred for the drill shaft on the north side of Pier 2, whereas it has happened on the south side. And there's been no casing installed yet for the middle drilled shaft location at Pier 2. So let's continue on towards Pier 1. And let's zoom in on that. Okay, we can see that all 3 casings have been installed for the drilled shafts. And it looks like reinforced concrete has been placed for 2 of the 3 drilled shaft locations. So to tally it up here, it looks like 3 of the 6 drilled shafts among these 2 pier locations have been cast, and 5 of the 6 permanent steel casings have been installed. And if you were driving by the bridge or you watched this news segment on WJAR, this is from August 11th, you can see that they're installing the reinforcing cage at one of the drill shaft locations, actually the southernmost drill shaft location on Pier 2. And you can see they've got a trimmy placing concrete in the drilled shaft. So to go through these drawings just really quick, I'm going to get into the construction schedule for Walsh. 3 drilled shafts at each pier location. You have 6 main piers in water. So piers 1 through 6 going from west to east. Looking at the schedule, this came from Walsh's technical proposal that was incorporated into their contract for the design build replacement of this bridge. They showed construction start at Pier 1 on September 30th, finishing November 9th, 2026, and Pier 2 work starting November 10th, concluding December 16th, 2026. So the reason why they started the in-water work on June 10th instead of September 30th is because they got their Corps of Engineers permit about 6 months ahead of schedule based on what they submitted to RIDOT at the time of their proposal. But the more important takeaway here, in my opinion, is they show a 10-week construction duration to complete the installation of all 6 drilled shafts between Piers 1 and 2. So instead of the 10-week construction duration, they're 8 weeks into it with their June 10th start, and they've only completed half the work at Piers 1 and 2 for the installation of the drill shaft foundations. So they've got 5 of the 6 casings installed and 3 of the 6 drilled shafts placed within those casings. So it looks to me that they're approximately 2 months behind schedule relative to the duration for the activity installing the foundations at Piers 1 and 2. And this matches with what I was told here. I've collaborated on past videos with Rhode Island resident Rob Cody, And he was telling me about a month ago that he was talking with a construction worker who's on this job site every day who had commented about how slowly the work was progressing, in his opinion. And I just sort of filed that away. I had no idea what I was going to find with the progress of the work on this project until Josh sent me this drone footage yesterday. And you see it for yourself. They're halfway through the work at Piers 1 and 2 in 8 weeks when their schedule says they were going to be done with all the foundation work at Piers 1 and 2 in a period of 10 weeks. By the way, their original schedule showed them working in late fall when the weather's far less favorable than it is now. So it may be that there's some difficulty going on here that hasn't come to light, but it sure would be nice, in my opinion, if the DOT were not focused on trying to score political points for the incumbent governor and instead be open and transparent about the true state of progress with the work on this project. It may be that there's been unforeseen circumstances that have developed for Walsh. I mean, it's Walsh's business how they want to prosecute this work, but you don't need the DOT, in my view, misrepresenting what's truly going on this project. And really, it's not Walsh's job to build this replacement bridge project as fast as humanly possible. They left a lot of money on the table when they bid for this work. The proposals were based on technical merit as well as pricing. Walsh competed against American Bridge to get this work. They were $47 million lower in their bid compared to American Bridge. And Walsh had a much lower technical score than American Bridge. And in fact, there was so much difference in pricing that Walsh could have bid $20 million more and still offset the differences in the technical score and been successful in getting this work. So, in other words, they left $20 million on the table. And I've worked with many, many contractors and congratulated contractors when they were the successful bidder, meaning the low bidder on a project. And some of them weren't so happy because there were instances where they left a lot of money on the table. And it made them wonder, was there something that they missed that the competitor knew about? Did they get something wrong with the pricing? I'm not saying that happened with Walsh. I'm just saying there's not extra money, in my view, for them just to bring on lots of extra equipment or spend lots of overtime pay to accelerate the construction of this project any more than they absolutely have to. Now, this project has $10 million in potential early completion incentives, and it has to do with the configuration of lanes that are open on both the existing eastbound bridge and the new westbound bridge. And these are technically theoretical, but if they go with the optimum configuration of the most open lanes on both bridges, they could collect that $10 million if that were to occur roughly 6 months ahead of schedule. Then you have other combinations that could come into play. Some of these are just merely theoretical because their substantial completion date is November of 2028. Their final completion date is in 2029. So Walsh has to meet those deadlines before they would actually start incurring penalties. But again, it just shows you that they're not going to spend millions of dollars to just try and get $10 million in incentives. So what I'm saying is, I think Walsh has a readily achievable schedule to complete this project in November of 2028, assuming that there's no unforeseen circumstances or difficulties that creep up. I think the DOT negotiated a contract that was very reasonable and achievable. It wasn't really aggressive. I think the government of Rhode Island, when they messed up with the initial request for proposal that got no bidders and cost them an over a year delay before they eventually got on track to getting Walsh and WSP selected for the design build replacement project, they weren't going to make the same mistake twice by being too aggressive with schedule. So I think there could have been an opportunity to more incentivize the contractor to get this work completed sooner, and it wasn't taken. I mean, if you doubt what I'm saying, just look at the fact that Walsh has one drill rig out at this job site. The foundation installation is a critical path item for the construction of this replacement bridge. Obviously, you're not going to have columns, you're not going to have girders, you're not going to have bridge deck in place until you have the foundations installed. And the fact that they've got one drill rig out there and they have room to have at least another drill rig out there, in my opinion, just speaks to the fact that uh, they've gotten a head start, if you will, because of the early granting of the core permit. And why sprint and break a sweat when you can walk and get to the finish line just fine? So please, if you have any thoughts about what I presented in this video, please let me know in the comments section. With that, I'll do another book mention here. This book is really interesting. It's about an American who travels to Afghanistan, wild and woolly country back then, still is, and he finagles his way into becoming a prince of this area of Afghanistan. A very interesting gentleman, and obviously he was the inspiration when you read this book for Kipling's novel, The Man Who Would Be King. I actually didn't care too much for the Kipling book. It's interesting. Uh, this expression, his stuff didn't age very well, I think applies. But this book is very, very interesting, and it just shows you how feudal it is. The British found out in the 1800s, and other people have found out since then that Afghanistan is really an ungovernable country, just based on its tribal nature. But the fact that this American saw fit to go there and throw himself full into the wheelings and dealings of the country, I thought was very interesting. So if you're so inclined to check it out, I've got a link in the description. With that, I want to send a shout out to those of you who've contributed to buy me a coffee. That's one of the better ways to support this channel. I also want to thank the channel members and those of you who've contributed to Super Thanks. So continue to follow the updates on this Washington Bridge saga.